What's up, y'all? Back with another business talk, and today's discussion is going to be on, particularly for my people who are starting their brands, and you're leaning heavily towards sending a pair of your sneakers to an influencer. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're making 50 shoes to 100 shoes, and that's all you're making, it's fantastic. You know what? Send it to an influencer, and hopefully they'll convert into 100 sales for you. But the likelihood of that happening, it's a 50-50 thing, man. If the person is big enough, then yeah, everybody's going to maybe jump on board and buy 100 pair of those shoes. However, for the long term, what does that do for your brand? So what I'm doing is revisiting a discussion that I created 3 years ago. Really, well, I've been talking about it for a while, but it's going back to Saucony. Has Saucony abandoned the world of hype? And I wrote this back in 2019. And in this post, I explained, I said in 2018, Saucony made a decision to work with a series of influencers when the company was making incredible footwear independent of needing any validation from streetwear and the people who drive social engagement, right? I explained that hype doesn't translate into loyalty. If you can remember anything from this post, hype does not translate into loyalty. And this is the big issue. When you do have hype, typically it doesn't translate into sales at the low end. So you can have product that already exists, and just because you have hype, that doesn't mean that the products that are already in the sales channel where people can buy it, that those things are going to increase sales across the board. So what happens is, and like I said here, hype becomes a false positive. In other words, it looks good, but it's very temporary, and because the shoes are limited and they're only really kind of hitting because they are scarce, that becomes problematic because people don't fall in love with the brand, they fall in love with that one product. So what I'm doing is going back and I'm looking at Saucony again, and what you're going to notice is something very interesting. And obviously there have been some changes at Saucony and Wolverine where you've had new people come in and take over. So a lot of things have been pushed to the back, but it's a very kind of interesting thing to look at, especially when you start thinking about Nike leaving all of these accounts and the ability for other brands to go into accounts and help prop those accounts up with something like an futures situation. You make a bunch of really dope footwear, go to those accounts that Nike is dropping, prop those up with some really good all whites, all blacks, and then some dope colors on really nice sneakers. And then kind of get into an information loop with a series of people that you bring in as consultants and say, hey, what do you think about these releases going to these chains that are losing Nike? This is an idea. So let's get to what I'm saying. On Sauconys Originals page on Twitter, they have not tweeted since 2018, September 2018. 2.5 years, 3 years. That's obviously problematic. Or is it? I tend to think when brands do this, they are starting to focus their energy on the international market. They're kind of foregoing the US market and like, you know what, forget it, we're done trying to fight and get people to try us over Nike. We're done with it. So we go to their Originals page, and what I'm looking for are a series of shoes similar to what was created back in 2016, 2017, when Saucony made the dopest shoes of those 2 years. That's not an exaggeration, and I'm going to remind you guys of how dope those shoes were. So let's keep going here. We're on the Originals page, and there are no kind of quote-unquote collabs or anything that really show up as a standout shoe. They're going very basic, black and white, blue, all black. This is a little bit funky, and it looks like a Sahara picture. This Saucony is not bad. I'm not logged in, so we won't be able to see that. I'm going to open it in a new tab, and then we're going to get back to it. So the Aya. All right, that's right. They did re-release the Aya, and that's a good thing because that's a dope shoe. It's an incredible shoe. But let's leave that page and go back and get on topic. All right. So what they did in 2019, let me see, when I wrote this was 2017. They made a decision to work with a series of influencers on 10 drops, right? And I immediately said this is a bad idea. It's not going to convert, and they should be really spending time on the product that they already have, which is some really, really incredible product. And this is what I wrote about the fact that Saucony attempted to do what other brands are doing, which is to get an influencer and try and reach the sneakerhead market, which is one of those things that's very dangerous to do. Here's the problem, and this is what I said. Scarcity works for Nike and Adidas because they're consistently creating content. If you look at this Twitter feed, and now I wrote about this Twitter feed way back then, prior to the promotion of the Originators project, the interaction on Twitter for Saucony is not very strong. In other words, they did this release with these influencers, and it wasn't very good. So I added a discussion, and I said the influencer does not create a ripple effect or any residual sales on items that have been delivered by the brand. What do I mean by that? Can an influencer sell something that's hot right now? Yeah, but you don't really need an influencer to sell something that's hot right now. It's going to sell itself. It's kind of like DJ Quick, and I use that line all the time. You don't sell dope. It sells itself while you stand back and collect the wealth. That's basically what happens with hyped shoes, but it doesn't deliver more eyes across the board. So I went on and I said, okay, here is how you do influencer marketing while keeping it also inside of, and this is a solution, while keeping it also inside of your own content creation, right? So Vans did, and I made it in conjunction with Saucony. Vans created waffle heads. Now, I don't even know if this page is still up. Maybe they've deleted it, but no, they haven't. They kept it up. And what they did was created an influencer campaign, but they did not allow the influencers to be in control of the content. They controlled all the content within their digital sphere. It's very close to what Nike does with sneakers. And this is critical. If you are going to take these influencers, you build around those influencers within your digital content, all right, within your ecosystem. And that funnels the traffic into where you are, and that carries over to other things because they are on your website. And it's very similar to what Merrell did when I talked about last week, what Merrell did with their collaborations with the hikers, right? So let's keep going here. And here are other things that I added. Saucony and other brands are taking efforts to become cool by aligning themselves with influencers because of the followers that those influencers have. But this is becoming such a consistent thing that is a surprising decision that underscores how deceptive social media is at delivering the promise of brand notoriety and brand loyalty. While an Instagram or YouTube following can deliver eyes, it doesn't necessarily translate into sales. Now, you see what I'm doing here? Now, look at the shoes that they were making prior to connecting with influencers. The Ramen, one of the best releases that I've ever seen from a brand, was this shoe. Incredible storytelling. And you're looking at 2017. The chocolate pack, a white chocolate, dark chocolate, that's based on an area in Boston, Kendall Square, Main Street, was once known as Confectioner's Row. And then we can even go as far as back to their website. Well, I wanted to go to the bricks, but I left the bricks out, and I really wanted to show you guys the bricks because I have a feeling a lot of people don't remember what the bricks are. But I'm going to wrap this up by saying that right now, Saucony doesn't really have a lot on their originators or their originals page. And I'm wondering if that's a mistake. But if it is a mistake, it extends back to the people who thought they could grab market share with influencers. And here's the bricks. I need to click on that so it can open quickly, but it's not. So I'm going to wrap this up, and you guys just get to look at it in this small picture right here. I'll put some links down in the description, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Oh, look at that. Came up. Dope. Peace, y'all.